Kamigawa Neon Dynasty is almost here, and for a set with such huge departures from Magic's usual fare, we have been presented with one of the most tightly flavoured sets in a long while. So, join us on a stroll through neon-lit alleys and city streets as we talk through our flavour picks. Welcome to Magic the Flavouring, the Magic the Gathering podcast, where we talk about all things Magic flavour design and lore. I'm your host, Andy Mann.
Hello, this is Nathan Cancel.
Nathan, are you excited for Kamigawa?
I'm super hyped. I think this set's fucking amazing. It's doing so much. It's got so much going, but it all feels like it ties together nicely. I'm sure it's going to play really well. Looks like there's loads of really cool things going on. I like to think of this as almost like it does feel more and more like a Kaladesh, like part 2. The more I look at the set, as an overview, flavor-wise, it's very different. But in terms of like mechanics and everything, I feel like it will play quite similarly. Without the energy debacle. But yeah, really, really cool set.
Yeah, no seeming debacles in sort of in play style. I think we sort of dropped our mechanics episodes a little bit of late, but like just looking at them, even from a flavor perspective or like a gameplay perspective, it doesn't seem like there's anything hugely egregious going on. I mean, I don't know. You're better at assessing play than I am.
Yeah, they played they played a lot of things like reconfigure. They play close to the chest. I feel like whenever they introduce like a new style of gameplay, like things like bestow, for example, I feel like they deliberately nerf it because otherwise it becomes a bit too abusable, and I feel like the same kind of thing with reconfigure. I'm even looking at everything under the lens of does it go into my Zerda deck with all the activated costs being like 2 less, and even then I'm like, they haven't really done anything that's really too egregious. There aren't any crazy ninjutsus that I'm like, okay, this could really bust things. I mean, there's some potential commanders that have like some abusability, but I mean, when do they not? And obviously they've made a red dragon that probably loops quite easily, considering it makes treasure. It's a red card that makes treasures, and it might be broken. Who the fuck figured? So apart from
treasures are just absolutely busted up,
right? I feel like other than that, I feel like the set, I feel like they've hit the ground. I feel like I don't know what it was with Eldraine for a set that seemed to be visually and everything quite like calm and peaceful and everything, and it completely busted everything. I feel like they've deliberately paid close attention to not doing that again. But I mean, who knows? I'm not an oracle. I'm sure that standard, if it is indeed still a format, will survive regardless.
You mean Arena? MTG Arena?
You mean Alchemy? What are you talking about?
I don't know. Standard. I thought exactly. All right, okay, cool.
You can play less than 100 cards? Oh, God, okay. Why would you?
Oh, we're only joking. Limited and whatever else formats that aren't EDH. You're cool too. You're cool too.
You're welcome to the party, don't worry.
I need to do a draft, man. I haven't done a physical draft.
Oh, man, don't. I know this is where pre-releases used to get. This is where I got my limited fix in. I haven't got time anymore. I don't like doing arena drafts quite as much. I prefer like in the hand kind of thing. But pre-releases for me were like where I got my limited fix. I do like a bit sealed, even if it can be.
Yeah, the last pre-release I went to was Theros Beyond Death. Can you believe that? All the way just before like lockdowns all hit. It was just before lockdowns hit, actually. I did quite well in that.
The Spark, I think.
Oh, what, the midnight one at Rule Zero?
Yeah.
Before Magic Fest London. The last Magic Fest London that happened.
God, that was so long ago.
That was the next day. Gosh. We did the midnight pre-release at Rule Zero. Magic Madhouse, as it was known then, in Hackney. The UK's best LGS. I don't know. I can't say that quantifiably. It's our favourite LGS. And then we went directly to Magic Fest London for 3 whole days of Roar of the Spark fun. That was pretty cool.
Couldn't stop us. Couldn't hold us back.
My wallet could. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We've got very limited time today, and we're waffling about fucking Magic Fest London and getting depressed about that. We're going to be talking about the awesome set that is Neon Dynasty, because Kamigawa, is absolutely fucking phenomenal. Like, I can't get over this set. I can't get over as well such a big swing, like in terms of flavour and function, and just going back to Kamigawa and all this shit, and they've just absolutely nailed it. They fucking nailed it. There's going to be a lot of swearing in this episode because I'm just going to be saying fuck the entire time because it's just so cool. It's so cool. And so we're doing our flavor picks episode. You know the drill. Nathan and I pick several things that we liked about the set. We might do individual cards. We might do broader flavor themes. We might just talk about the art as a whole flavor pick. It's our podcast. We do what the fuck we want. And we'll be talking about the flavor of this set. But we've reduced it down to 3 and an honorable mention. And I think that's smart because if we did the full 5 and an honourable mention, there's just too much. Everything's my flavor pick. Neon Kamigawa, Neon Dynasty is my flavor pick for Magic. Is that right? 7-minute episode.
Yeah, exactly.
We're done,
right? I mean, just done, sorted. The whole thing, good. Ship it. Let's go.
Yeah. Pack it up.
Anything particular? Just like the whole thing.
Everything.
You know?
Pick a card. I don't give a shit. I'll find something. Yeah, like this whole set is great. And again, just such big swings, man. Like huge things. There are things that we're not going to be talking about today because obviously we've only got essentially 8 individual things to talk about. But again, every single facet of this set. They got fucking mechs in this set, Nathan.
Mm-hmm. Like actual full-on. I mean, we're not going to jump straight into the honorable mention, but I mean, I'm going to honorable mention.
Yeah, let's go.
There's a Megazord in the fucking set. And
all right, okay. This is your honorable mention, yeah.
Yeah, the Mech Titan core. What I love about this card is that it performs just about close enough to a normal Magic card, whilst also quite clearly being an obvious meme, kind of like Shark Typhoon, right?
Yeah.
So 2 mana for a 2/4 artifact vehicle, crew 2. You can pay 5, exile it, and 4 other artifact creatures and or vehicles you control to create a Mech Titan, a legendary 10/10 construct artifact creature token with flying, vigilance, trample, lifelink, and haste that's all colours. And when that token leaves the battlefield, you return all of the cards exiled with it, apart from itself, to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. It's a fucking Megazord.
Yeah.
It's Voltron. It's whatever reference you need this to be from your childhood. It is all of them and together in one. You get all of the colours. It's just so good. It's so good. The alternate artwork's fantastic. It comes with a token. It's got its own token. It's the new Caldra, even though Caldra's complete. Now, imagine, oh god, Mech Titan complete. Why did my brain immediately go there?
Why have we forgotten about Caldra being complete? They're definitely going to come back in the story, no?
Right, yeah. And this is kind of what I felt like. This is almost like I want to see someone try and do the Mech Titan core, and then someone do the Caldra the token, and then have them fight. You know, like
yeah.
Oh, gosh.
There is definitely enough going on in EDH where you could definitely do kaiju, like a kaiju pod. Or you could have 2 players playing a Korea kaiju, and then 2 players playing like mech, and just have them like maybe like a 2-headed giant thing.
Oh my god, that's so cool! This is like Saturday morning television on Magic cards.
I mean, I agree, right? Like we all know how much I kind of am grumbly about memes in Magic because I'm just like, like 7 dwarves. I mean, like let's not go back to it, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Like I just sort of feel like my vibration of humor when it comes to that kind of thing just isn't quite the same as the prevailing winds in the Wizards writing room, and that's fine. It's not everything has to be for me, and I understand and I appreciate what they're trying to do with Magic. This is the one. The Victor Adame Minguez artwork for the token, which is Mech Titan, right? That's the token for it.
Mech Titan. Yep.
Yeah. Interesting tidbit there. They built a maquette, like an actual little figure of Mech Titan to use as a reference, but they made it out of clay and molded it, and so there is actually like a physical Mech Titan maquette out there, which they're now selling and they're auctioning off. So it's just really cool that this thing not only does it exist in like the media that we accept it in, but it also essentially exists as an action figure, which is just the most Bandai like Megazord thing I think I can think of. Like, yeah, amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. It's such a cool. Like, it's a little meme. If you get rid of it, and I say go and have a look at that artwork for the Mech Titan. It just looks so awesome. It's everything I wanted from the set. I think it's what everyone wanted from the set as well. Yeah. Good. That's my honourable mention. My
honourable mention is going to follow on very directly, actually, from when we were talking about our flavour of old Kamigawa, which we did a couple of episodes ago. And my flavour, broadly speaking, this is probably my most broad one, is the Nezumi, the rat people of the set. So one of my flavour picks when we did the OG Kamigawa episode was the Nezumi of that set and the Akiba gang as well, and the fact that they were kind of like outcast ninjas, but I liked the rat people aesthetic, and I was kind of wondering what they were going to do with them in this set. And you told me, because I didn't actually see that time, that the early artwork showed that they were kind of following the same sort of thing, and they have, but also not in like equal measure. And I think that's the same, that phrase, it's the same, but wildly different, can be applied to so much in this set. I fucking love what they've done with the Nezumi in this set. So the Nezumi, and the Akiba gang specifically, I should say, because there are rat ninjas and there are various different rat folk throughout the set which aren't ascribing to this. And that's the same actually for all the races. They have diversified them so that, you can have like an Oni who isn't necessarily just like a henchman for like a demon or whatever else. Like they've got individual cards which show the races doing other things than their trope. But the Akiba gang, they've used again as the kind of like rogue bandit faction, the Black Rogue Bandit faction, but this time with motorbikes. They're a biker gang. Like, that's fucking wild. That's
It's
so
Biker Mice
cool.
from Mars, man. It's Saturday morning television.
It is. It's Biker
It's
Mice from
so
Mars,
good.
but it's also heavily influenced by late 80s, early 90s anime, specifically Akira, right, from 1988. So Akira, for those of you that have never heard of it or never seen it, was essentially the film, the anime, which brought anime and indeed cyberpunk culture to the West in the late 80s, early 90s. It still holds up as essentially one of the giant masterpieces of anime. And in that film, you have a biker gang. I think the fans called them the Pill Gang. I don't actually think they're named in the film, but the main characters are part of this teenage biker gang, and there's just so many little references to it. The card Akiba Reckoner Raid, which is a saga, a flip saga. The biker jacket that the Nezumi rat is wearing has a motif on the back that shows a rat doing like a power slide on their bike, which is exactly ripped from a very famous shot in Akira, and indeed that shot's been like parodied so many times by like a million other things as well. The Shiba, who's the Shiga, who's the black white legendary in this set, and is a Nezumi rat which cares about vehicles, and she is riding a motorbike. Her weapon in the artwork for her card is a big like polearm, like a pipe. And Yagamata, who's a character from Akira, who's the second in command to the biker gang, his weapon of choice is also a polearm, which is a giant pipe. And I don't like it's everything. And I think it was such a cool little fit for the Nezumi. Again, they didn't go down the kind of like dirty, grotty, like plague-ridden route with the rats, which I kind of enjoy. They gave them a proper, what would these people be like in a neo-futuristic world? They'd be a biker gang, and they would have like evolved, and they'd still be the outcasts, and they'd still be kind of like the sort of freewheeling like ball of black chaos, but this time they're on the back of two wheels, and like all of the black like vehicles in this set have the same sort of feel. Like was it Reckoner Bank Buster, which is another mech card. It's just all this like wild, like souped up technology, which is all just like it must be so stressful living on the street level of like uh Kamigawa these days, because you just have all these like crazy vehicles just spinning around doing crazy like flips and firing guns at each other and stuff. It's like, yeah, love it. More please. I would do a whole commander set if they just did like a Cuba gang tribal and it was just like motorbikes and like neon bikes and shit.
Yeah, it'd be so cool. I also like the fact they managed to slip in a Splinter reference as well into the set as well with Silver Fur Master. It's like which rat stereo like cliche kind of trope do you want in there? So we'll give them both to you. Just have them both. Why not?
I mean, again, yeah. Broadly speaking, I do like the idea that although the original Kamigawa did have quite clearly defined roles for a lot of the different races because they were tied to their colors specifically, especially the Big Five. They've sort of, again, they've diversified them. I think they even spoke about that in their little roundtable they did, specifically about the ogres in the set, I think, where they said that they didn't want them just to be like the big meat slabs. They did want them to have a bit more diversity to them. So
yeah, there's a mono green one that's in the commander deck that's like, I think it's called something penitent or something like that, and basically does a thing if he's got an enchantment and a counter on him, so it kind of takes you, he's slow and steady before he then becomes a brute. Yeah, I think that's quite a cool idea.
Cool.
Yeah, very good.
All right, man. Let's what's your first flavor pick proper?
So my first one is a cycle, and it's a monocolor cycle, the Invoke cycle. And this essentially is Wizards' take on monocolor ultimatums. So instead of having like the post-Charming Crawl ultimatum of having spells that do a big time effect, I think it was like say red black blue, and the card was like primarily a black card, but also what would Grixis be as a wedge if it had like a big splashy 7-mana spell. Those cards used to do something those all three colors would do together. Maybe it had one of each of the things that it would do. Obviously we got a second cycle with when did the Ikoria, right? We got the the wedge ones
Yeah.
with the courier. So now we've got monocolor ones. So you've got Invoke Justice, Invoke the Winds, Invoke Despair, Invoke Calamity, and Invoke the Ancients. And these all have the same mana values, so that's 1 and then 4 of the same color. So Invoke Justice being the white one, Invoke the Winds being the blue, Despair being the black one, Calamity red one, and Ancients the green one. And they all just do a really, really potent thing that color does. And I just quite like the idea of them leaning into monocolor in general. I think, especially with going into New Capenna next set, there's going to be a massive multicolor focus. I feel like it's very easy to kind of lean into multicolor as for like deck building, especially in like constructed formats. So it's quite nice for them to push monocolor cards, especially in something like Commander where there's not really a lot of pull or push to do so. And I feel like each of them does do the thing that the color does very well. So Invoke Justice returns a permanent from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then you distribute 4 +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures and vehicles that target player controls, which is very, very strong. Invoke the Winds, you gain control of target artifact or creature, and you want to tap it as a sorcery rather than enchantment, so a one-time steal effect. Evoke Despair makes target opponent sacrifice a creature. If they can't, they lose 2 life and draw a card. You repeat that process for an enchantment and a planeswalker, which is really strong. Evoke Calamity, you may cast up to 2 instant or sorcery spells with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard and or hand without paying their mana costs. And this gets around timing restrictions as well. It's an instant, so you can actually cast sorceries at instant speed with this card, 2 of them in fact. And then the green one, arguably I think this is the most like egregiously obviously powerful. Create 2 4/5 green spirit creature tokens. For each of them, put your choice of a vigilance, reach or trample counter on it. For 5 mana, fuck off green, get out, go away.
I like how ability counters, keyword counters have just kind of slipped into Magic really nicely, haven't they, since Courier?
Yeah, I hope that this kind of stays as an overarching theme in general, right? Because I feel like it's so... Apart from having to have multiple different game pieces, the other thing that people complain about this card is you have to have this card, 2 tokens, 2 Vig counters, 2 reach counters, and 2 trample counters. Just use a dice, whatever. Like, get over it. But yeah, I do like.
Also know, like, how many times like do you load up a creature with like a bunch of equipment, and especially like we live in a generation of Magic players who play predominantly over fucking webcam these days. Like, it doesn't take much to go like, oh, I remember you saying that like your giant creature had a bunch of shit. What does it do again? Oh, it's currently vigilant. Oh, okay, lovely. It really doesn't matter. Like, take it from someone who played a Catherall deck for about a month before it became too egregious. The counters are more trouble than it's worth. Just remember what it does. It's fine. Like,
absolutely. Yeah, I just like the idea that they've really kind of lent in. I do feel like with some of them, they kind of gave it up a little easily. Like the blue one kind of feels a little lackluster compared to the rest of them. But then a 5 mana steal effect, and you get to untap it as well. Like having a blocker. In terms of play pattern, I think it's very strong. Notably, the only one that's an instant is the red one. I just really like this idea that they don't just push multicolor, because this set's quite pushed for multicolor. You know, there are two rare Boros legendaries that both have quite interesting and individual abilities. I'm looking at the multicolor and I'm like, why did Boros get so much love? Because it got a mythic. Didn't get mythic. There are two rares in the Chencho.
2 Ors of ones as well.
Yeah, but only one of them's rare, and then one of them's uncommon. It's weird that they kind of like pushed, but then also, I like the fact they also kind of went, okay, you can still go mono if you wanted to. I don't know if it's going to be viable.
No Simic creatures.
Apart from the Colossal Sky Turtle, which is basically what do you want on a Magic card?
It's not a legendary though. Sorry, I'm talking about who's going to head up my commander deck. I was really looking forward to having an interesting Simic commander that I could build around, because it's not. I've built Simic decks in the past and they've just been too Simic-y. And I thought, maybe Kamigawa will be the time where they will do something cool, like artifacts maybe. And they gave us Tamio.
Do you think maybe they've realised that they can't? That there's no way to make an interesting Simic legend, so they've just given up. They're like, fuck it, we keep trying, and we just keep putting land and draw card on it. Oh, what's wrong with us? I guess we'll just leave it for a couple of sets.
Give me a polymorph one. Give me another Vanifar. They can do like the birthing pod thing. Give me another Vanifar type Simic commander, but one that can't be comboed off. Don't make it like a tap or a mana ability. Make it like conditional or something. Or make it really specific.
Or even like a Mimic Vati. Like, I wouldn't mind like a Mimic Vat commander.
Yeah.
That'd be quite cool.
Just give me something which I'm not always afraid that I'm going to pop off with infinite mana.
Yeah, or other people are going to have to target you down accordingly, right?
My Rashmi deck was a lot of fun for me.
I bet it was a lot of fun for you.
Yeah, infinite value. Anyway, cool. Yeah, I like that cycle, man. Like, I agree. Like, yeah, very, very cool. Sweet. My first flavor pick is The Wandering Emperor, which is our white legendary planeswalker. The Wandering Emperor is 2 white for a legendary planeswalker. Blank. It has flash. As long as the Wandering Emperor entered the battlefield this turn, you may activate her loyalty abilities anytime you cast an instant. +1 ability, put a +1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature against first strike on the turn. -1 ability, create 2/2 white samurai creature token with Vig. And -2 ability, exile target tapped creature. You gain 2 life and it enters battlefield with 3 loyalty. This card is flavorful as fuck.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I love the Emperor. I love the Wanderer. I love the Wandering Emperor. Whatever we
Yeah.
call her. I never want her name.
Nope. If we ever get her name, I riot. I won't acknowledge. First time artist as well with William Arnold, which is great. The art style is just, it just fits perfectly. Brilliant. I love everything about it. I love her outfit. This follows directly on from our like storyline and like flavor episode beforehand. So I'm going to get into this a little bit later on. All of my flavor picks are like really informed about how I felt about the story and how I felt about the flavor leading into the set. And I think that's really telling by the fact that they did the story first and then the cards, and then this is how we're looking at it. Because usually we do quite broad things, and actually I think a lot of the ethos of this podcast is that we look for the flavor in like the commons, or like, oh, did you see that cycle of artwork, or oh, this cool little interactions, like really nice, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, there are mythics and whatever, they're doing their planeswalker thing. So much of my flavor picks are like the big splashy cards that feature in the story, and I think it's because I really resonate with them like just so much more, because I know what they're trying to do. And thankfully the kind of cognitive dissonance between the cardboard and the story wasn't too great, so it was like, oh, okay, things kind of fit in together. So it's, yeah, I really love this card, and I completely understand what it's trying to do. Firstly, the fact that it's got flash and has sort of like pseudo instant speed with the abilities is just, that is just like the Emperor's power, right? Or their curse, I suppose, as you say. The Wanderer, we keep calling the Emperor, where she can't control her spark, right? So she bins in and out of like planes. So it's that represented. She can't control when it happens. She just jumps in, so you can cast her at flash speed, so you can play her on someone else's turn, and then as long as she entered the battlefield that turn, she does her thing, because she doesn't get to stick around for long, right? It's like she jumps in, and it's that moment in the storyline when she just bamfs into like the Jin Katax's lair and just goes, slice, like, check it out, Jin, swing, and just like cuts him in half, and then's like, cool, I'll see you back at base. Bounce
Bye.
again, like it's like, yeah, she's so cool. And yeah, I love it. And I was kind of thinking, like, when I was looking at this card, I was like, oh my god, they're finally doing stuff with Planeswalkers. And I think that's actually kind of unfair, because I do think they've actually, since Planeswalkers have been a thing, they have used instances of cool design to push the character on Planeswalkers. I actually think they're a lot more interesting than I previously given them credit for, because you have things like, even like the first Gideon, was it Guardian, Defender of Justice, whatever his first one was.
Just straight up Gideon Jura was the first one.
Oh, okay. Well, most of the Gideon cards then have had his like ability where he turns into an indestructible creature and can kind of like lead from the front, because that's what Gideon does. You had Arlene Cord, she had a flip werewolf side. You had Planeswalkers like Professor Onyx, for example, with the naming convention, and even some of like the lesser interesting Planeswalkers, people like Jason Chandra, even they've had individual cards which do something slightly interesting. Like the Zendikar Jace creates like an illusion Jace, like creates like another version of himself, which I don't think we ever gave credit for. So it's really nice to see Planeswalker cards getting like not only keyword abilities, which I think is a very smart idea, but also just getting really tight flavor that really makes sense for the character. And they've always done it, but I feel like this is like another push in the right direction, as opposed to, say, Teferi, who slows the sun, or whatever that clunky fucking name is for that card. The last Teferi that we got, where
he the sunset,
where he like, was it he doubles up the abilities he can do, or he can do it on everyone's turn?
No, he just simply he's even less interesting than that one, because that one was the Master of Time was one we could activate.
Master of Time,
Slows the sunset. Yeah, Slows the sunset just has normal blue-white effects.
Do you know what I mean? It's the Chandra effect. Like, you get so many of them, like, it just and like you forget the interesting shit that they do. So this is cool. I think that they need to not have a fuck ton of Wanderer cards. I think it's cool. This is just the second time we've seen them, and yet they feel like a character that's been in Magic forever. In the storyline, they have been in Magic for like the past 10, 15 years, which is brilliant. And yeah, just keep it nice and simple. Keep the Wanderers doing this thing. I love the fact also that each ability does represent something about them. It's not just generic like white battle mage shit. So it's, the first one is the Emperor leading from the front because they are the leader of Kamigawa. The second one is the Emperor's personal guard coming to back her up. And the third one is her literal sword strike, which evokes kind of the uncommon card, which got in War of the Spark. So each one of the abilities, although it's relatively simple on paper, which they'd have to be because you can do them at pseudo instant speed, do tell the story of who the Wanderer is and what she's about. Yeah, love it. Also love the naming convention as well. Nice touch, like Professor Onyx, which is the Liliana card. The naming type line gives you the clue as to what their character is and the flavor of who they're about. Again, never print her name. It's cool for us not to know. No one wants to know except for Kaito.
Yeah.
And even he's content with just having his friend. So let's just leave it, Wizards. Cool. You did a good job. Move on.
Exactly. Yeah, don't ruin it. Don't ruin it, please.
So yeah, Wandering Emperor.
Wonderful.
Tight fucking Planeswalker. Love it.
Cool. So moving on to my second flavor pick. We've had the Yamazaki brothers. Now it's time for the Yamazaki sisters. So the thing that really bothers me about this, right, is that in the same fashion of where you can kind of rule zero the Yamazaki brothers, I might as well. Let me talk them through first. Actually,
yeah.
Yamazakis. So the brothers Yamazaki, 2 and a red for a 2/1 legendary creature human samurai. Bushido 1. So when it blocks or becomes blocked, it gets +1/+1 till end of turn. If there are exactly 2 permanents named brothers Yamazaki in play, the legend rule does not apply to them, and each other creature named brothers Yamazaki gets +2/+2 and has haste. And the artwork by Ron Spears. Actually, there are 2 versions of it, and it was basically to represent the 2 brothers, one of which facing left-hand camera, one of them facing right-hand camera. And there's been obviously a big thing of where people rule zero to be able to play the 2 of them as your commanders, like as partner commanders in your command zone.
Sure.
Would it, with knowing this, would it have hurt them on a random card in a standard set to put partner
with
it? You know what I mean? Like, why?
Yeah,
I know, absolutely partner with. And I understand why, because you don't want to put it in your standard set. But for the love of God, it's now another Rule Zero question that people are going to ask. And the problem with this one is that both Heiko and Norika do something quite powerful and quite cool. So Norika Yamazaki, the poet, is 2 and a white for a 3/2 vigilant legendary creature human samurai. When a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you may cast a target enchantment card from your graveyard this turn. Heiko Yamazaki, the general, 3 and a red for a legendary creature human samurai. 3/3 with trample. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you may cast target artifact card from your graveyard this turn. The white poet saying the blades will have their say, but peace is built with words. The red's general saying I prefer to let my sword do the talking. Now,
they're chalk and cheese. Can't have any siblings that get along.
So, do you know what's also really nice? Now looking at these side by side, why are they both facing left? Why couldn't you have? I guess it's ladies facing left, right? I guess that's why.
You leave Magali Villeneuve alone. You leave.
Look, there is no comment against. I guess it's both, so you can put the ladies looking left, but you can put both of them in the deck, right? That's what I'm going with. That's the canon reason as to why both are facing left instead of not. And in their alternate artwork, you see each of them represented in the background of each other's artwork, which is really nice. Obviously, these 2 are supposed to be played together, but it's really nice to have this idea of being able to cast directly from the graveyard. Obviously, there's lots of artifact and enchantment synergies in this set. It's obviously makes sense that the red one does artifacts and the white one does enchantments, but I just like the fact we have this partnership again, and that the Yamazaki tribe hasn't died out. We after thousands of years, we still get the throwback, and I think everyone kind of called it of where like we're definitely going to get some Yamazaki sisters, aren't we? And then they did, and it's not overtly said. I mean, they might be mother and daughter, they might be cousins for all we know. It doesn't explicitly state, but you got to assume so, right? Is
the artwork? So I'm just looking at them now, and I've got Heiko on the left and Noriko on the right. Are they meant to be the other way around? Because the big blue circular window.
Yes, exactly.
It's all one picture, right? It's all one painting.
Yeah,
surely.
That's exactly. Yeah, I'm sure it's a triptych. Yeah, I'm sure a polyptych. Sorry, I'm sure it is. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that Morgani will probably release it. She tends to do this around release time of when everyone knows all the cards and it's no longer spoilers. She tends to drop the full artworks. So I imagine very soon we'll see this. And that's what kind of makes it even more interesting that they're both facing left. Unless the idea is, the poet's looking forward to like the solutions, the general's in the back ready to kind of like defend kind of thing. In general, I just love throwbacks. I love the fact that they can do throwbacks and pay them not only good homage, but but almost like increase the flavor of it. It just kind of annoys me that they couldn't slip in that whole, I get it's, you know, a commander line of text, but it just kind of does annoy me a little bit that you can fit in the partner with, because there's bound to be some douche nozzle out there who doesn't let you play them, both of them, because they're like, oh, the deck's probably too strong. It's Boros. Get over it. Let me have my fun.
Don't know. Boros is quite as fragile as it once was.
It's Boros. It's fine. Let me have my fun.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. Sweet. My next pick is another Planeswalker. I'm shilling out for the Planeswalkers.
Such a shill.
Today.
I like your mythics, wizards. Oh, your mythics are so cool.
Hope your game sells well and you can make another $1 billion in your next quarter. They've hit their billion in 2 years instead of 5.
It's absurd. I found out this morning that Magic makes more for Hasbro than the rest of their company put together.
Oh, it's like 2/3, isn't it? They're like 2/3 of their entire revenue.
It's so stupid.
Jesus
I mean, it's
Christ.
not. Magic's a great game, but come on.
I know. What a great company Hasbro is with all their amazing products. Anyway, Tamiyo completed Sage. Now, I'm going to say the word completed because I think I've always said compleated, but that's silly. So I'm going to say completed, even though it's spelt the Phyrexian way with an A after the E, after the L, after the P.
The idea is it's supposed to be completed, and people just go, oh, but it sounds to be complete sounds better, but to be completed sounds stupid. Whereas to be complete and completed, I think that's the idea, right? Is they want to be complete. You know, it's the modus operandum of old Father of Machines. God rest his soul, rip. You know.
Yeah. So Tamiyo. Tamiyo completed Sage is a Planeswalker, legendary Planeswalker Tamiyo for 2 a green, a Phyrexian hybrid, and a blue. It has completed, which is now a keyword for the Phyrexian mana symbol. It says Simic hybrid. +1, tap up to 1 target artifact or creature. Doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. -X, exile target non-land permanent card with mana value X from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of that card. -7, create Tamiyo's Notebook, a legendary colorless artifact token with spells you cast cost 2 less to cast, and tap to draw a card. Comes in with Loyalty 5. Artwork by Chris Rahn for the regular version, and by Terada Ketsuya for the alternate artwork. Both of them are flipping phenomenal. I don't know why I said flipping there when I've been saying fuck the rest of the day, but there we go. Chris Rahn, man, unstoppable. Can we just every time there's not a single artwork that Chris Rahn's done that I'm just like, whatever. Like, obviously we gush about artists and so many artists on this podcast, but is Chris Rahn the face of Magic in terms of art? He might be.
I think you're still looking. I mean, it depends on what kind of era, right? Because I feel like not Swanland, fucking Dark
Ron
Steel
Spencer?
Colossus. Ron Spencer, I feel, to me, is still the quintessential, because that's what I grew up on. But in terms of modern, I think you're getting close. Between that, like Niels Ham as well kind of has a bit of a monopoly as well recently. I think Ron Spears as well does a really good job. I think there's a few names that kind of I look at, I'm like, Magic. You know, no matter what you do. I mean, and it's funny that you bring up artists. I want to do a little gush at the end of the episode about this, so I'll probably save it for them. But yeah, there's some. Good God, this set is stunning.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anyway, moving on. So Tamiyo completes the Sage. First Phyrexian Planeswalker as just a character for a start. Like, obviously we mentioned this in the storyline episode, but to see it on a cardboard's pretty spooky. And also first Planeswalker then by extension with Phyrexian mana that they've keyworded to completed. Thoughts and feelings on keywording Phyrexian mana?
It doesn't bode well for the future. I think it's fine, right? Because I feel like if they limit the use of it because it was busted in the first place, I mean, in terms of aesthetics, it's busy as fuck. It looks ridiculous, but I think it makes sense, right? I think it makes sense, and I don't mind it too much. And again, it doesn't bode well for the future, but it's a nice signifier of like, oh, careful, it could happen to other people. Ooh, better watch out. Us crazy Phyrexians, we're gonna get you.
Yeah. So I mean, I like it. Again, I think I don't know why, but keywords on Planeswalkers, as long as they're not like stupid, like as long as they make sense for what the Planeswalker's trying
flying.
to do. Well, yeah, I mean, hey, we've got a Planeswalker with Flash, you know, you never know. Like,
true.
I just don't know. I think because they can only be used as like a narrative storytelling device, if you like. Like, obviously, it's a keyword, it's a mechanic, but because they can only be something which is actually making sense for the character, I think they always seem to land with me, like, completed or Flash. They can't have flying. If they were to have flying, it would be like a Gideon situation where they'd gain the ability if they became a creature, or like a Sokka,
or like indestructible or something like
that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it just always works. The time where it doesn't work will be so ridiculous that it will just be like really obvious. So I like completed. I think it's cool. I think giving it a keyword as well isn't maybe the most necessary, but especially... See, this is... here we go. This is why they've done it. New players. New players who are getting into the game where Phyrexians are going to start being in standard sets as opposed to just commander sets and things are going to need to know what the fuck that mana is.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It also means in future reference, you can just put the word, people know what it is, and it takes up less text space.
There you go. Done. Sorted. Again, the abilities for Tamiyo are really, really nice. So the second ability especially is really cool for the Phyrexian version of Tamiyo, because I read it as the one where you exile something, creates a token of it, is the idea of giving a creature a second life, right? Much how like Tamiyo has gone through a second birth into being a Phyrexian Tamiyo, So I think that's really cool. But then the first two, the first one, the last one. So the first one, tapping down a creature, is pretty much something that she's had on every card that she's had printed. And then the last one, creating Tamiyo's notebook. We've seen Tamiyo's journal as a card in almost all of her artworks that she's depicted in. She's got journals and notebooks and books and scrawlings going on. So I think it's a really nice way to have, like, yes, this is Phyrexian Tamiyo. This is effectively evil Tamiyo, although morality is fluid in the Magic universe. But it also is just going, this is still just a Tamiyo Planeswalker. And it's actually really spooky, again, talking about the story, where in the epilogue we got like into her mind's eye, if you like, where it is still the same old Tamiyo. The morals are the same. It's the motives and the loyalties that have changed. So the fact that she still has notebooks that, cause a reduction in cost and draw her a card, so she's gaining knowledge and she's becoming more powerful. It's the same old Tamiyo. You could have printed that onto a Tamiyo card that wasn't Phyrexian, but the fact that she now is Phyrexian is just really spooky. And it's just really simple. It's really, they didn't do anything too crazy. It was just different enough to tell the story while still giving you a new Tamiyo card. And I love it. Also, Phyrexian script on a Planeswalker. Pretty bizarre.
Pretty bizarre. Yeah, I still don't know. I like that Phyrexian text always gives me the willies on it. It's not only that don't understand, does not compute, but it's also it's just menacing, and they've really nailed it with this Phyrexian text. Not only have they actually made like a language that is translatable, and they've kind of almost created it. I think it's like, I can't remember what they say it came from. I think it's like its origins in like Irish or something, with the way that they structure their sentencing and everything. But it does just feel very alien. It's like when you buy a Japanese card or a Chinese card, like typecasting on the typing. The quality of the typing is slightly different, which kind of gives the card almost like an alien-y kind of feel. It's exactly what the Phyrexian text does, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to feel weird and otherworldly and not right and not correct. Really cool. I also like the fact that Complicated you comes in with 2 less loyalty counters. So it's almost like it's less loyal to you because it's more loyal to Phyrexia.
Oh, yes, good call. Yeah, I didn't necessarily think of that. That's very, very cool.
I think that's really cool. Again, the fact that none of her abilities are outside, they're kind of almost like twists on it, right? Like the -X is that she wouldn't exile, she'd return it, kind of thing, which is quite nice that they put a tiny little spin on it. And yet it's also really galling to know that, shit, she does still have her notebook. She still does have her scrolls. This is still everything part old. It's all of old Tamiyo with Phyrexia on top. It's not Phyrexia have taken them apart. And I guess it's the first time in the story we've really had recently the Phyrexian influence of taking a beloved character. Whereas back in the old stories, there were so many times this happened where people kind of had to deal with it that we haven't had as a modern audience the opportunity to kind of really experience. And so it was much more like proper gut punch, right?
Yeah, like old Phyrexia as well was much more sort of like body horror-y, whereas like new Phyrexia with the Parators, it's almost like they've perfected the art forms. They are almost like cleaner, especially Jink Taxis and Elish Norn's kind of circles. Just one thing, we didn't mention this in the story episode. I think I put this out on Twitter. The fact that they picked a fan favorite Planeswalker with a cute little family and they kept her personality the same does lead me to believe it's like a massive flag that potentially, maybe, I'm going to call it, they're going to find a way to reverse the completion process and we're going to get Tamiyo back.
There is no way they're going to complete, because this is the thing, my mind went in like a cascade, right? It went completed as a keyword, they're going to do it to a bunch of other Planeswalkers, so that kind of reduces the impact of it, right? Kind of that was my like staggered effect.
They'll do 5 of them.
Yeah, they'll get they'll get like a little cycle, and it'll cover all of the different colors of the color wheel, and it'll almost be like a Dark Avengers kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it'll be like the anti Gatewatch, the gate ignore, or whatever they're going to call themselves. So yeah, like I feel like it's obvious at this point there's going to be more, and then at that point there's some of them, right, and some of them are going to come back. I'll be really annoyed if it isn't Tamiya, because I feel like that's kind of a heartbreak. I also feel like because she was never going to open her scrolls from a storytelling point of view, the only way for us to see what was in them and understand them properly is for her to not be in her right mind. So it's almost like they've kind of gone, shit, we've kind of locked this lore behind a door, and we've kind of put ourselves in a position where we can't really kind of attack this character. Fuck it, let's do both. Let's just do both and reversey Percy it later. Nothing's forever. Nothing ever lasts. All stories come full circle.
I know what's in one of the scrolls. I'm going to call this now. You're gonna timestamp this. Go on, 10:46 in the morning on the 10th of February 2022. One of those scrolls is going to have the knowledge to birth an Eldrazi. So we're going to get the 3 Eldrazi back. She's going to create 2 Eldrazi.
Oh, wow.
And then Emrakul's going to come out the moon, and then they'll fuck off, and they'll kill the Phyrexians. There we go, storyline called it.
Oh, wow, Phyrexian versus Eldrazi. Otherworldly versus Otherworldly. And all the Planeswalkers just sat there with popcorn going, who do you think's going to win? Well, I've got 50 quid on Phyrexia, actually.
Let
I don't know about
fight.
you.
Is Godzilla.
Oh, man,
I've got it, Kaiju. Cool. There we go, sorted.
Fantastic, I love
this
it.
This is going to be the audio clip for our episode, and I'm gonna get. There's going to be a black van pull outside my flat, and Mark Rosewater's going to step out. Yeah, get in the van.
Who leaked you? Lovely, amazing. Right, so my last one is another fan favorite. Not a fan favorite character, but at least a fan favorite name, and that's Satoru Umezawa. Now, Clan Umezawa has been around in the game for years, since Legends, in fact, and it kind of works weirdly in terms of lineage, right? Because Kamigawa kind of fucked things up by being really set, like 12,000 years in the past, 1,200 years in the past. So the first one we got, the first was Toshiro Umezawa, and this is the one that we saw originally in Kamigawa, the black protagonist, as it were. I say protagonist, kind of quote unquote. He did a massive part in solving the trials and tribulations of the Kami block. He ended up being thrown over to Dominaria as punishment via the Myojin of Knight's Reach. So it's almost like we have 2 different separate Umezawas. We have the Umezawa family that's on Kamigawa, and then we also have the Umezawas that are on Dominaria, which is why we got Tetsuo Umezawa, who was implicit in defeating Bolas, Nicol Bolas, when he was back in his prime. That was the original card from Legends, and then we saw their descendant Tetsuko, who is the female Umezawa that we saw in Dominaria, who's the one who can use portal magic. It's almost like ninjutsu, but not ninjutsu.
The mono blue one, which lets things with 1 power get in for an attack, right?
1 power or 1 toughness.
Sure.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly that kind of like portal thing. And now we've got Satoru Umezawa, and he is the new dimmer kind of. I want to say this is maybe like the boogeyman commander of the set, because his abilities a little strong. So Satoru Umezawa, 1 black blue for a 2/4 legendary creature human ninja. Whenever you activate a ninjutsu ability, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This ability triggers only once each turn. Each creature card in your hand has ninjutsu, 2 blue black. Now, the last time we saw a blue-black ninjutsu commander was what's that called?
Tiger Shadow.
Yuriko, Tiger Shadow, yeah. Who's also weirdly enough getting a new promo with us going into the Year of the Tiger this year, which is quite cool. A little segue. Now the artworks for Satoru. Give me 1 second. I'm going to grab all 3 of them because he's got all 3, and all 3 of them are absolutely stunning.
They are, as the kids say, banana.
Yes, right.
I say kids. I think we said that. Oh God, Nathan, we're so old.
We did. We're really old.
I'm 32 this year.
Shh, we don't talk about it. It's fine. 30 is the new 20. It's fine.
Holly keeps seeing new grey hairs on my head. I don't mind going grey, but it's just Passage.
Dude, I've had a patch since I was 16. Okay, you just do what I do. You dye your hair blonde and you ignore it ever happening.
Yeah, you kill your hair. Sorry, carry on.
So fine. So the original artwork is Anna Pavleva, and it's kind of got this neon. And this is one thing I'm going to quote quickly. For a Neon Dynasty set, there wasn't actually as much neon as people were worried about.
Good.
I think like they kind of downplayed the neon quite a lot. Exactly, right? I think people were really worried that everyone was going to get up in arms about it, and I don't think it actually ended up happening, which is nice. So the original artwork is by Flavour, and then you've got writer Kazama, who does the ninja border version,
Yep.
and then luckily enough, you've also then got Yori Shinkawa, who did the artwork for Metal Gear Solid back in the day.
Buy box
And
promo card.
yeah, all three of them are stunning.
Yep.
I really cannot get over the artwork. I'm going to use this as my little segue because I wanted to say at the beginning, but my god, the artwork in this set. There are so many cards: Lucky Offering, Blade Blizzard Kitsune, Much of Otherworldly Light, Go Shintai of Lost Wisdom. Just go and look at the artworks of this set, guys. Kamigawa did not let us down. But I like this card, Satoru Umezawa, because it does the flavor quite nicely of where he is a crime boss. He gives you the opportunity to like the ability to almost like ninja in, right? He has almost the pass of information and the options and the accessibility to get you into anywhere, which is kind of when it's like each creature in your hand has ninjutsu. He can get you in, he can get you infiltrating in, and then whenever someone does this for him, whenever someone does ninjutsu in, it gives him information, right? And this is the idea of as a crime boss. I think it's really cool that he isn't himself super strong, this super like club in hand kind of guy. He's almost like working from the shadows, using his influence to give the ability to other people to get more information for him, because we only see him very briefly at the beginning of the Kaito story, and he kind of comes across as being this really imposing, intimidating, like almost like Yakuza kind of crime boss, and we don't really see him again afterwards. And I liked that at the beginning he seemed like he was going to be really important, and yet okay, we didn't see it necessarily, but I feel like this card translates that strength in a slightly different fashion. Again, it's not just a big clunk who's going to smack you across the face. It's going to be some duplicitous, sneaky method of, oh, I didn't know you had a Blightsteel Colossus back there. Oh no, for 4 mana, I guess it's coming at your face. Oh, and it's not blocked because, oh, you've missed it. Oh, game over? What a shame. What a shame. So yeah, really, really cool.
Yeah, very cool. I like as well that in the story that they were featured, but they weren't necessarily the big bad, which was nice.
No. I get you get this kind of feeling that Kamigawa has a lot of other power plays going on. We just happen to see one specific one. And again,
it had to tell the story. It had to tell the story.
Yeah,
which is fine.
Exactly. Fantastic.
Cool. Well, my last flavor pick is exactly the art as well, but it's not the art you'd expect. I mean, again, as you're right, the artwork in this set is just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the Thousand Face Shadow by Katrina Burmack, who is just on fire.
God,
again.
Right? Holy shit.
Katrina! Yeah, awesome. But the arts that I'm going to be talking about, there's like, it's almost like a little, it's not a cycle, but it's definitely a little group of artworks that I think we're going to start seeing more and more in Magic the Gathering. It's no surprise to people who listen to this podcast regularly that we really like the art style of Wiley Beckett, and that when they first arrived onto the Magic scene, we very quickly called it. We were like, cool, this is going to be one of Magic's next superstar artists. They're also going to have other art styles and other artists brought in who are in the same sort of like field of like sort of visual art style. Like, you had other artists that kind of were a little bit like Niels Ham. You had other artists that are a little bit like Wayne Reynolds and so on and so forth. And they go through like little phases in Magic. And this is the phase of Wiley Becker. And we've arrived there. We have it. You've got there are 3 artists in this set, not including Wiley, so 4 in total, that have this kind of, I don't know if it's all exactly the same art technique. So Wiley uses pencil and ink wash, and then they'll highlight in white pencil. So it's black and white penciling, with maybe another color thrown in, like a lot of the time, like reds or like dark oranges or whatever, to like do details, and then they'll ink wash over the top. I believe that's how they do it. They've got videos on YouTube. Go and have a look. So I don't know if each of these artists use exactly the same techniques, but the art style is visually very similar, and I think in a good way, not in a kind of sort of plagiaristic way, because that would be ridiculous. But it's definitely wizards going, oh shit, people love Wiley Becker. What other cool artists are there that we can bring in? And also, what other artists do we already have in our little roster who can do something similar? Maybe they want to try something similar. So, the ones that I spotted in this set, you had Careful Cultivation and Regent's Authority by A.M. Sartor, and this is their Magic debut as well. Clawing Torment, Season of Renewal, and Storyweave by Ravina Kai, who they got a couple of Mystical Archive cards back in Strixhaven, and then they also got a card in both Crimson Bow and Midnight Hunt. And now they get 3 in Neon Dynasty. This is going to be another one to watch. Ravina Kai is cool as shit. And then you have the legendary black Kami character, Go Shintai of the Hidden Cruelty, by Johannes Voss, of all people, like who's like the master of color and has like something in, and in Kaldheim
So
was like
muted.
Mr. like Aurora. Do you know what I mean? And then
Mm.
Goshintai is, again, it's all greys and
It's-
blacks and like a little
Yeah,
bit of
it's almost
color, a hint of
monochrome,
color,
isn't it? It's like
almost
maybe a
monochrome.
little purple. Like, but I think is that even coming from the border, and our eyes just can't help but move it into
I
the
mean,
image. Like,
that's
it
the
could
great
be
thing
black
about
and
this art
white.
style, isn't it? And then the most ironic thing is that Wiley does get a card in this set. Wiley Beckett does get a card in Brilliant Restoration, and it's probably the most color we've seen on a
It's
Wiley
true.
Beckett card. Albeit, it's still very monochromatic. It's just not blacks
Mm.
and whites. It's yellows and whites, right? So, yeah. And I just think in a set which is so obsessed with deep, rich sci-fi colors, your yellows, your purples, your pinks, and like making everything pop in that regard. Like literally, that is what neon is. It's a burst of color to highlight and catch the eye. The artworks that stand out, then, the ones that are left, are the more muted colors, and I think it's great. I mean, obviously, you also have things like you have like the sort of more traditional like ink art styles, like on Life of Chihiro Mizara, that's like an ink painting and all that kind of thing. So it's not just like they're the
Mm.
only muted colors in the set, but this kind of pencil with like color highlights, this kind of like grayscale almost. I think we're going to see a lot more of it in Magic, and that's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Magic
Yeah, I feel like
should move away from the homogenization, and it has been, but I think it should do it in more subtle ways now, and they have been, which is great.
I feel like this. We'll probably talk about this next episode, but I feel like sagas have kind of opened the door to alternate art styles, and alternate art techniques, and it doesn't feel alien, and because it can also even feel like within the metaverse, it's almost like in world, right? I feel like it kind of gives so much more opportunity to go fuck it, have the diversity. There's no reason not to, especially in a more fantastical plane like Kamigawa. And if anything, it kind of works to its benefit even more when you have things like certain artworks, like the modern era or the modern age or whatever, like, and you place them side by side. It makes the contrast. The contrast makes each other pop. That's the whole point. When you look at certain spells, certain cards like Jukai Preserver by Donato Giancola, who, by the way, I don't realize how good Donato Giancola's portfolio is. Across all the years of Magic, they have done an exhaustive amount of cards, and the quality and different styles that they have across their artworks is so broad. But you have cards like Jukai Preserver, but then you've also got these like mech titans wandering around, like these really clean, almost like kind of taken from the front of like manga covers or like Japanese magazines. Like, it's so crazy that you can have all of this in the same set and it will feel like it works together. Like, I feel like Kamigawa really struck that nerve between old school, new school, the modern era with your ancestral history, and managed to kind of get both kind of flowing together. There are certain cards like Containment Construct, for example, that I'm like, I can't tell what's more like samurai inspired armor and then what's more neon futuristic kind of signposting and that kind of thing. It's a real delight for the eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna issue a quick correction to the very start of the episode within the episode. So when I first saw Shiga Akiba Gang Leader, which was my honorable mention for the Nezumi, that was from a translation of the spoiled card, which was in Japanese. The English translation for it, or the English sort of regionalization, is Greasefang. So we will know them as on English cards as Greasefang Akiba Gang Leader, not Shiga. Would it be it'd be Greasefang Akiba Boss. Yeah, which is interesting. Cool. I literally just spotted that. Cool. I mean, so next week, guys, we got to jump off. We got to go away and live our lives. But before we jump off, just to give you an idea of what we're doing next week. We didn't talk about the sagas really in this episode as their own thing. They've got flip sagas in this set, and they're rad as hell. And we will be doing a whole episode on them next time. So don't worry if we didn't talk about those, because we will be dedicating a whole episode to them. We also didn't mention, Nathan. Here's a mini honorable mention. They've got creature equipments.
Yes, the reconfigure thing. I really wanted to touch on it, but I felt like it was a big topic. I kind of really wanted to talk about.
But they're out there in the world, and it makes really, perfect really cool sense in terms of what they're doing. It's great. Fantastic. Anyway, we've got to go. So thank you very much for listening. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can find us at mtflavouring. Emails go to mtflavouring@gmail.com. My Twitter is at AndyManface. Nathan's, yours is...
At the Fox in the Moon.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. This set is awesome. I can't wait to play some and pick up some bundles.
And the alternate artworks as well. Holy shit, good god. I love Japanese artwork. It's,
Too much.
Gosh.
Neon Dynasty. Neon Dynasty is my flavour pick. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for listening. This has been Magic the Flavouring.
We'll see you soon.